Hello, this is Scott Barron, the CEO and founder of School Growth, and we're bringing this new series to you, a new webinar series called the Consultative Business Officer Exposed. This is our first episode of a four-part series, and we're glad that you've joined us for a great conversation around what business officers are doing. And what we mean by business officer, of course, is everyone who is in the business office. That could be the CFO, business manager, HR, payroll, accountant, bookkeeper, facilities, safety, the whole team, right? When you have that team that's committed to functioning with a high level of servant leadership, it is a huge game changer. And that's what we're talking about specifically in this series, is their capacity to build relationships and relationships with four key areas of the school, which we're going to talk about here today. And when we talk about the consultative business officer, of course, we're talking about there's a distinction between a traditional set of business people and the consultative spirit and attitude, and so sort of to kind of to demonstrate the tension or the comparison there's a certain passion that the consultative business officer has. They're passionate about the mission and accomplishing something great, versus just the traditional business officer being focused on more accountability, right? The priorities of the consultative business officer are about relationships and building trust, versus having a traditional person who's more about rules and processes. And then we've got just the perspective, right? The perspective of the consultative business officer is on the big picture and strategy and knowing how to help the whole team win and be successful, versus kind of creating a focus to the traditional business officer on us. We're kind of on the business office team exclusively, and more about our own reporting and kind of making ourselves look good. And then finally, there's in practice, the consultative business officer is about building engagement because of the impact that has on not only the performance of the organization, but on student growth. Whereas the traditional business officer is much more about building authority, right? So some pretty clear distinctions there, and we're going to talk about then today about how that servant leadership model really emerges in the business office, where they've adopted that attitude, that focuses on that passion of enabling the mission, right? We've got it on schoolgrowth.com. You can download an infographic that has more details about how the consultative business officer knows how to really listen in, because they're genuinely interested in the leaders in their organization. So they're building a relationship that is really distinct. So they listen in, they really plug into their priorities, and they tune in to make sure that they're deeply connected to their leadership team at a professional level and personal level. They know how to coach and develop their leaders. They know how to analyze the data and connect the dots. And we're going to talk a lot more about that here today. And then, of course, they know how to think like designers and not just like managers. So they're able to solve problems and innovate in a very powerful way. So we hope that you're able to take away from this some practices that your business office could begin to implement to truly be enablers of the mission there on your campus. We're going to be looking at, again, as I said earlier, this idea of connecting the dots. The consultative business officer and team are remarkable at connecting the dots, and they do this for four key relationships, and that's what we're going to focus on in this webinar series. The first is with the chief administrator and the board, and then we're going to move into looking at the connection with the admissions office, and then the advancement development office, and finally, of course, with the academic team as well. So today we'll focus in on that relationship with the chief administrator, the head of school, the president, the superintendent, whatever you call it. We're going to share that. I had a chance to teach the consultative business officer the whole workshop at the National Business Officers Association National Conference in Los Angeles back in February of 2016, and it was a great experience. Had a packed house, and there were even people sitting around the outside, because there was a real energy and interest in trying to build a different relationship with your administration. And the interesting thing was, the night before my session, I had a chance to talk to a CFO who was there from a very large school, a very successful school, and he was telling me that he'd had some real difficulties with a principal, and things were not going well. And there was a lot of tension happening, and couldn't get the administration to some of the academic leadership to pay attention. The athletic director with a lot of issues there, and so he was like, I'm really looking forward to coming to your class tomorrow because I need you to help me solve this problem. So I said, great, I'm looking forward to seeing you there, and so he came to the session and we went through the program, and when we were done, he came up afterwards and he said, I didn't like this. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm sorry. And he goes, well, don't get me wrong. I liked it. This was extremely powerful for me. But what I wanted you to do was help me understand, how do I fix them? Because I wanted them to be the problem. What you have shown me today is that really the problem is in here. That I have to really step back and check my spirit and my attitude so that I'm able to really have that servant leadership and modeling that for my team as well as for the other administrators that are here in our school. And wow, that was a beautiful experience. And we of course have followed up with him as well to help make sure that he is as successful as possible in building that trust and relationship there on his campus with his administrators. So when we talk about this, we're going to specifically look at and you can we'll give you a link to download the slides if you go to schoolgrowth.com/CBO, consultative business officer, CBO-exposed. You can download the slides that we'll use throughout this webinar series. So we'll kind of work through a conversation now around how does the consultative business officer and team build relationships with the chief and the board. Because really what they're about is equipping that executive leadership for proper governance and performance, right? And so you have your team is very capable of seeing the dots and of making an impact on the school that it's really hard to get anyone else to have the impact that you can have. And the CBO really has an advantage because you're a trusted member of the inner team of the administration, right? You have the ability to listen and to understand where their needs are and where their pain points are so that you can point out some of the opportunities to plan for our resource allocation and to make sure that we're providing a real strong story around the return on investment. And see, that's an advantage that you have because most of the time in the business office we have people who have a background that didn't come from education. According to a lot of the data that we have from NBOA and other resources, a lot of the people that are in the business office had a prior career before coming into education, and so you have a language that you're almost bilingual. Right? You can speak education, and you're learning that. If you're newer to education, you're still picking up those terms. If you've been around education for a while, you have that ability to talk business and to talk education, and that's a big advantage that you have, and hopefully you can use that to build better relationships there between the board and the administration. So what we're looking for from the CBO, of course, is we want to have, if you look at the health indicators for the school, we've got to have healthy salaries and benefits that are competitive, and we want to make sure that we manage our cash flow well and our cash reserves, and we have both a strategic plan and a tactical plan because the CBO is able to function at the strategic big picture level. But, and this is a critical factor, you know how to translate that vision into tactical results. Because you cast a vision strategically, you grow tactically, right? You grow with shorter term goals so that you learn faster and can innovate more effectively as a team. You know that, and you know how to translate that for the rest of the organization. So a huge advantage that you bring to the table. And then finally, that ability to help guide the trustees towards making wise selection for new trustees, or if you have an elected board, knowing how to select or elect, and then training and providing the resources for the goals and performance evaluation for the board. So they would think about key performance indicators or KPIs you understand that terminology, whereas the educators might talk about a rubric or other types of outcomes. Again, you have that, you're bilingual, so you can connect those dots and help both parts of the organization communicate well together. So that's what we're looking for from you. And so the key things that we need for this, the CBO is able to accomplish. One is forecasting, the ability to anticipate needs and know how to help the administrators throughout the school do a good job of planning and then executing on that forecast. That's a critical part of your leadership. We also are looking for you to optimize performance, right? You know how to put the right measurements in place to make sure that we know how we can really grow and improve the school, finding ways to optimize in terms of outsourcing, right? So there's things that we can do to create some economies of scale, and also we're looking for you to be that person who can again help us develop as a learning organization. Now, there's a lot of things that you can do as a school. You can have a remarkable curricular program or athletics or something else, and of course everybody can copy that. The one thing they can't copy is the culture that you can establish there at your school, on your campus, where you can learn faster and more effectively than any of the other schools around you. That is a sustainable competitive advantage that you can be a key part of helping to establish. So that's what we're looking for, is optimizing that performance. We're also looking for you to be that person who is, in your team, is managing those relationships with our investors, which includes maybe a banking relationship or donors, as well as with our vendors, right? We're trying to create an ecosystem of relationships where we can tap in to a lot of the resources and capabilities of the companies from whom we buy products and services. We're also looking to create a process of innovation and improvement, again, so that we can learn, but we can also utilize those key partners and key resources so that we're able to really grow and not just dependent on our own resources, but again, tap into a larger ecosystem. So forecasting, optimizing performance, and that investor and vendor relationships, and then finally board development, right? Helping provide the training for the board. Some of your board members, they don't come from a background of finance, and so you have that ability to help them understand the cycles of the business of the school and the budgeting process and how to handle the audit report when it comes back, and understanding what effective governance is, right? So that's a key part of the contribution that you can make. And when you have a consultative relationship with them, you're building trust, and they're willing to ask questions of you. They don't feel intimidated by the numbers. You're able to help them overcome sort of that number phobia and really be successful in their leadership role. And the other key thing that you're able to do is to bring in data from outside resources. And we were able to have a great conversation with Frank Alois, the CFO at Springside Chestnut Hill, and he talked about, he's a fantastic consultative business officer, and he talked about how one of the key things that he brings to the table is outside data, as well as knowing how to utilize internal data. Again, connecting the dots so that we can make better decisions around where should we be emphasizing some of our marketing strategies, and what are we hearing back from families as to how we could improve our value proposition as a school. So some great things that you bring to the table, and especially developing a process for improving our selection or election of school board members. All right, and so one of the things that we're going to share with you as well is a trustee evaluation worksheet, right? And what we're looking for is for you to provide leadership around making sure that as we are recruiting or encouraging board members to really join the effort, as we're looking for alignment around 4 leadership domains, right? 4 leadership domains: mission, culture, strategies, and then the position. Mission, culture, strategies, and position. So what we've provided in the slide deck that you can download a worksheet for you to use sort of as a starting point, and some key questions that you can ask. You definitely want trustees or board members who are mission passionate and not just mission tolerant, right? And so what evidence could you look for that would demonstrate that level of passion and engagement around the culture, the different habits and personality and leadership style? Does that really fit with the board culture and the school culture? And of course, are they fully engaged with the strategies that you're using as a school, and of course with the expectations that you have for the position of a board member? And so, what you're able to do is help the board learn, because you've got some board members who are really outstanding in what they do. They are excellent, right? Well, let's learn from those board members what is it about them that makes them so successful on our board. And then let's try to get more people like that, right? And let's figure out the ones that have been less successful. What is it that was a detriment to their role with the board? And let's make sure we don't make that mistake again, right? So we're a learning organization, and that's where you contribute in a powerful way to the success of the school and can help, especially in that process of board leadership and board succession planning. So we're really grateful, as we bring this webinar series to you. Smart Tuition has been a great partner in helping us do the research and develop some of these tools for you. So really encourage you to check out what they provide in terms of tuition management, and they've got some other great technology tools as well for being able to assess financial aid and setting up an online school store and some other great features. So really encourage you to check out what Smart Tuition has to offer. Also want to encourage you to say, as you're looking at trying to advance the design of your school, we've got some great resources for you. We of course provide both online as well as live training and workshops, labs and retreats, and that's been a powerful way to engage schools and expanding the capacity of their leadership and moving forward towards their goals. And of course, then providing some follow-up leadership coaching and some board development and leadership retreats. So that's what we're all about: professional development and helping you develop the capacity to grow to a remarkable level. Our innovation lab is one that's particularly interesting to a lot of schools, because it gives you that ability to translate that larger strategic plan into that tactical plan to achieve shorter term results, and again, to learn faster, because we definitely know that a learning organization has a distinct advantage, and as schools we want to be learning organizations, right? That's a beautiful thing. Well, we're glad you joined us for the Consultative Business Officer Exposed. This is the first in a 4-part series. We look forward to talking to you next week as we start to explore then the relationship between the Consultative Business Officer and team and the admissions office. Keep growing, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.